In a quiet seaside town, there is an old alley. This alley is like a silent old man, witnessing the changes of the town. In the early morning, the faint sea breeze is like a gentle hand, gently brushing every corner of the alley, bringing the breath of the sea. At the same time, the aroma of toast wafting from a bakery at the end of the alley also permeated leisurely, intertwined with the sea breeze, forming a unique and charming taste. In the middle of this alley, an old puppet theater stood quietly. It is like a soldier who has weathered the vicissitudes of life. Despite the baptism of time, he still holds his ground. The outer walls of the theater are covered with green vines, which resemble the theater's green cloak, adding a bit of mystery to it. Under the erosion of the years, the words puppet theater have become a little blurred, as if telling the glory of the past. The owner of the theater, the old puppeteer Carl, is just like this theater. He has weathered the vicissitudes of life but still has a love for puppetry. Carl learned puppetry from his grandfather when he was a child, and at that time, his grandfather's workshop was filled with all kinds of puppets. The puppets had different shapes. Some were naive, some were majestic, and each one seemed to have been injected with a soul. Carl's eyes always widened, watching curiously as his grandfather manipulated the puppets, as if watching a magic show. As time went by, Carl gradually mastered the skills of puppetry. Those puppets of various shapes seem to have been given real life in his hands. He manipulates puppets and can interpret the joys and sorrows of the world. When he performed a sad story, the puppets seemed to have a sad expression, which moved the audience. When he performed the joyous plot, the puppets jumped as if they really felt the joy, causing the audience to laugh. Every performance, Carl has dedicated all his efforts, and he has integrated his understanding of life and the world into the puppet show. Once upon a time, this theater was a paradise for children and a place for adults to relax. On performance days, the theater is always packed. Children would come to the theater early, sit in the front row, and keep their eyes fixed on the stage, for fear of missing any exciting moments. The adults sat in the back, smiling, enjoying the moment of peace and joy. The theater was always filled with applause and laughter, which seemed to be the best compliment to Carl. However, with the development of the times and the advancement of technology, electronic products such as TVs, computers, and mobile phones have flooded people's lives. These novelties were like a powerful torrent that quickly swept through the entire town. Children are attracted by the colorful animations on TV and the exciting games on the computer, and adults are also addicted to the various information and entertainment content on their mobile phones. The traditional art form of puppetry was gradually forgotten, and Carl's theater became obsolete. The once bustling theater is now deserted, but Carl didn't give up. He still came to the theater early every day and carefully wiped each puppet like a child. He carefully organizes their clothes and adjusts their joints to keep them in top condition. He believes that one day, the puppet show will regain its luster. One sunny afternoon, a young girl named Emily walked into the theater. She is an art student with a strong interest in traditional arts. As she wandered down the alley, she was attracted by the exquisite puppets in the shop window. The puppets shone with a unique light under the sunlight, as if they were beckoning to her. Emily gently pushed open the door of the theater, and the door shaft made a creaking sound, as if to tell the loneliness of the theater. Carl was debugging a newly made puppet when he heard the door ring. He slowly looked up and saw Emily's curious eyes. Emily's eyes were bright and clear, like a clear spring, making people want to get closer. Her face was brimming with youthful energy, in stark contrast to the outdated theater. Emily starts talking to Carl, who is moved by his love and dedication to puppetry. Carl tells her about his childhood, how his grandfather taught him to manipulate puppets, and about the theater's former glory. Emily was fascinated. She seemed to have seen that era full of joy and dreams. She decided to stay and help Carl revive the puppet theater. Emily used her knowledge to design a new publicity plan for the puppet show. She spends a lot of time and energy posting videos and pictures of the puppet show on social media. She carefully selected the angle of each video and adjusted the color of each image, hoping to attract more attention. She also wrote many lively and interesting copybooks introducing the history and charm of puppetry. With her efforts, some young people began to pay attention to puppetry. At the same time, she also advised Carl to innovate the form of puppetry and incorporate some modern elements. Carl was initially resistant to innovation, believing that traditional puppetry should remain original. He worried that adding modern elements would ruin the charm of the puppet show, like adding too much sugar to a cup of pure tea and losing the original fragrance. But under Emily's patient persuasion, he gradually began to try. They adapted the classic puppet show stories, adding some humorous plots and modern musical elements. They rewrote the script to bring the story closer to modern life. During the performance, they also included some interactive sessions, allowing the audience to participate in the puppet show as well. After a period of hard work, the theater welcomed some new audiences. Most of these new audiences are young people who are attracted by the novel forms of performance. However, their innovation has not been smooth sailing. Some old audiences expressed dissatisfaction with the puppet show that changed the tradition, believing that it had lost its original charm. They miss the pure way of acting in the past, and feel that puppetry has become nondescript now. Carl was caught in a dilemma, unsure whether to stick to tradition or continue to innovate. He often sat in the corner of the theater, lost in thought, looking at the puppets. He remembered his grandfather's teachings and the classic performances of the past, but he also saw the enthusiasm of the new audience. He felt very lost, like a ship lost in the darkness. Just as Carl was hesitating, a sudden financial crisis engulfed the city. Many businesses have closed down, and the streets are full of shuttered shops. Carl's theater is also facing tremendous economic pressure. He had to cut expenses, cut down on materials for making puppets, and lower the salaries of his employees. He even began to consider closing the theater and ending his lifelong dream. Emily didn't give up. She went around looking for social support. She is busy every day in every corner of the city, contacting a number of cultural institutions and charitable organizations. She would meticulously prepare detailed plans to introduce them to the history and value of puppetry, and to Carl and her efforts to revive it. She would also take them on a tour of the theater, allowing them to see for themselves the beautiful puppets and the stage full of stories. After her efforts, a cultural foundation finally decided to sponsor them to hold a large-scale puppet show. For Carl and Emily, it was like seeing a glimmer of light in the darkness. They were so excited that they were determined to make the performance perfect. For this performance, Carl and Emily have been carefully preparing for several months. They redesigned the look of the puppets to make them more fashionable and cute. They spent a lot of time writing new scripts and revising them to make the story even more exciting. They rehearsed the performance repeatedly, every movement and expression to the extreme. On the day of the performance, the theater was packed. There were both old audiences who missed the traditional puppet show, and new faces who were attracted by the novel form of performance. The lights came on, and the puppets, under the control of Carl and Emily, seemed to be reborn with the power to interpret a wonderful story. On the stage, the puppets' movements were light and flexible, and their expressions were rich and vivid. They alternately laughed and mourned, as if they had really become characters in the story. The audience was deeply moved, and applause and cheers broke out one after another. They were overcome by the charm of the puppet show and forgot all their worries and tiredness. After the performance, Carl stood on the stage and looked at the enthusiastic audience, filled with emotion. His eyes shone with tears of excitement and relief. He realized that tradition and innovation are not opposites, but can be integrated with each other. The success of this performance gave Carl and Emily hope for puppetry. They decided to continue their efforts to give puppetry a new lease of life in modern society. However, they are also well aware that the revival of puppetry is still a long way off, and more challenges lie ahead. In this era of rapid development, traditional art is like a precious gem that requires our care and inheritance. As long as we maintain our love for art and embrace innovation, traditional art will surely find its place in modern society. They are like two brave guardians, shining a bright light for the inheritance and development of traditional arts with their own actions.